West, y'all.
All right. Welcome to the back of the 135 bus, Christian.
Thank you.
How's it going?
Yeah, good. Good.
I know it's going good because, right now we've got a new government. And for the longest time, when was the last time National was there? Was when John Key was here, eh? When was that? A few years ago?
2017.
2017? Oh, that doesn't even sound that long ago. But it does sound longer because National's been in the dumps since that time.
Yeah,
Up
pretty
until
much.
now, eh?
Pretty much.
So to me, it feels like it's been ages, but it hasn't been. 2017 hasn't been a long time.
No.
No.
Not really. To me, it feels like ages.
yeah, that's what I mean, man.
To me, it feels like ages because all kinds of things happened since then. But yeah, if you just put it numbers-wise, I guess it's 6 years?
So right now we've got I think he's sworn in now. I heard on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
He's sworn in. How are you feeling about the coalition?
It's good.
Yeah.
Took a while, but I think it's the best possible coalition that we could have asked for, considering his 3 very different personalities, 3 different platforms, policy platforms that have to come together as one. So I'm glad they actually took the time to really work out the details. And me being obviously a National member, we got a really good deal from it.
Yeah.
But also me being a Conservative, I'm very happy. I didn't think I would be happy that Winston's in there, but he's pushed some very good Conservative stuff. So the whole thing's actually really good. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, because a lot of people are like off and on about Winston, like especially the last few years. You know, and I think, I don't know, he seems like a disruptor, but then they need him. I don't know.
That's it. They say you can't count him out. For me, it's you can always count on Winston to be Winston. So he's always gonna look out for his own interests.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is, obviously I'm Conservative, and I'm involved in National Party stuff. I was very frustrated when you see National Party not really pitching towards Conservatives in a big way. So Winston, he sat back, looked at the whole field, and was like, well, nobody's really talking to these guys effectively. And he just ran with it. So if you looked at the last probably 2 months, maybe 2.5 months, maybe 3 max of the campaign, he just started saying a whole lot of stuff that this group of people would resonate with. And that's how he came back. And we knew, I was in Croatia at the time, but I knew just reading social media and, across Twitter, Instagram. And you can't just read what the media puts out there. You got to go into the comment section and read what people are saying. And you got to read across a whole lot of different platforms. But I knew Winston was coming back. And it was just what percentage he'd come back with. But for me, I think, I got no problem with him. I was really angry with him when he went with Jacinda in 2017.
Yeah.
But hey, now it's a new government. It's a new day.
But that's just him, isn't it? That he's the one that observes and see what's going on. So I guess he's the kind of party that goes where the majority goes to in terms of votes. The voting, he checks out what the landscape is.
Which is amazing. It tells us that sometimes the colour is not what matters. The party colour, it's not what matters. It's the leader. And if you looked at New Zealand First platform that they ran in 2017, it's like completely different than what they ran on this year in 2023. So the leader really makes a big difference in those calls. And his personality, he's got a big following. He's got a lot of people that may not like him, but that trust him. So there's a big difference in that, there's some people you don't like, but you can trust them to do what they say they're going to do, or trust them to be themselves or something like that. So I think a lot of people voted for him because of those things. And it works for him. And as part of his brand, he just says what he thinks, does what he wants. And yeah, you can't blame him for being him. And now he's Deputy Prime Minister.
Again.
So, again.
Yeah. He's also the Foreign Affairs Minister as well.
Minister of Foreign Affairs. So, yeah.
So I always thought that was a trick to get him out of the country, sort of thing. Even when he was that position before,
Who knows? I've never thought. Let's fly here. I've never thought that much of him to think too much about it. But when I look at it now, there's two big things that he's probably looking at. Is the number one, making sure that his party has a good legacy. And then number two is probably his own personal legacy, and I think he fancies himself as a bit of a statesman, so why not? I got no idea if it's to keep him out of the country, but...
Yeah, I know for a long time, my parents been long time Labour supporters, and I was kind of surprised, maybe in, maybe mid-2000s, my dad, he changed to New Zealand First. Because he just loved Winston, like his charisma and his jokes and the way he talks. And, he gets attacked on the media and then he fights back and comes back.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the personality thing,
A lot of Samoans like Winston because it's very similar to our own sort of way of doing politics. And, we all know one family member that's similar to Winston. Yeah. So, but culturally, we're taught we admire these kind of people, because we, specifically Samoan people, we really admire people that are bold and that aren't scared. In fact, in Samoan, you'll hear people say all the time, "Oke para ai," loko, God loko, stuff like that, which is, if you say it in English, don't be scared on its own merits. Sounds stupid, Okay, you got to be scared sometimes. You can't just be bold stupidly. But in Samoan, being bold itself is a virtue, a value. So, yeah, Winston personifies that value. And no, actually, not quite a few islanders that love Winston, and they love him even more right now because they think he's sticking it to national. So
yeah. But that's the whole. When I look at the how Pacific Islanders, how they vote, when talk about how my dad switched over to New Zealand First just because of it's sort of like a distraction, I think, the way Winston is, like the way he is on camera, and that you're sort of distracted. You get distracted from the policies.
But the whole thing is the distraction.
Yeah.
The Jacinda was a distraction. If you look at a lot of the stuff that she talked about, and then the stuff that Labour would do in the background, it was a complete distraction. John Key was a distraction, smiling and doing his gig. But that's their job. That's a politician's job, is to distract us from the reality of what they're trying to do. I mean, like I was saying to someone, it's quite a while ago now, and they were complaining that politicians lie and they promised this but did this, or they didn't campaign on this but they've done this. And I said, your life is really screwed up if you put all your trust into politicians. Yeah. I'm like, trust God, don't trust politicians. Said, believe in yourself, look after your family. I would not put too much. And I'm someone who, I spend a lot of time in politics, but I wouldn't tell people, trust a politician 100%. It's just not very smart.
Let's just deep dive into that, because you are, you're a guy that I know on social media that's always been outspoken with politics stuff, especially our people, Samoan people who Pacific in this country, empowering them the way you know how, and you say be careful about politics. How do you get around that? How do you sort of understand it? And
for me, you gotta I have a saying, I don't say it as much anymore, which is you play the game to learn the game and learn the game to win the game. And only when you win the game can you change the game. So a lot of people come into this and then they get disenfranchised or disheartened that it's not what they expect, or that it's not how we grew up, or that people don't share our values, they don't share our worldviews. And then they sort of spit the dummy and they get whāri and walk off, But that's, I think, the beauty of life is that we have these different perspectives. And so we hear this all the time, variety is the spice of life, let's celebrate diversity, blah, blah, blah. But then when you go into Pacific circles, it's very homogenous, especially Samoans, because in Samoan culture, we say Samoa Umano Tofi, which means Samoan's already regulated, already standardized, it's already established, which means also our culture, our worldview, everything is from the lens of this is how it should be and this is how it shouldn't be. So you take that and then you come into a Western world, and they have their own established norms as well, but they're not exactly the same thing. Like, for example, I do a lot with Croatians. So Croatian worldview is very different from an Anglo-Saxon, Anglo-Germanic worldview of things, or a British worldview, let's say. Very, very different in how things should be done. And sometimes I think we get overly simplistic in saying, oh, it's white people, or it's anti-Pacific, or whatever. No, it's just people have a different life, a different experience of life. So you get into politics. If you expect people to think and act the way that you do, you're going to be very disappointed. If you think that everyone has the same value-based system as you, you're going to be very disappointed. And for me, the way that I get through it is you got to take a step back and you look at it and you be like, okay, where is this person coming from? Why are they doing what they do? And what are they hoping to get out of it? And how can I work with them? So there are a lot of stuff where I don't agree with people, but I can work with them, And there are a lot of stuff where absolutely, like I know people, they absolutely hate my guts, but we can work together because we've taken a step back and we're like, okay, well, what's the end goal? The end goal is, for example, if we talk about National Party, do I like everything that comes out of the National Party? No. Do I like everyone in the National Party? No. But can I work with most of them? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I believe that a national-led government will be better for Pacific people and for my family and myself than a Labour-led government. And therefore, a whole lot of different reasons. But that's the underlying belief. So if you don't come into politics with a long-term view of things and with an end goal or a bigger picture kind of approach, then you're going to get very disappointed because, someone's going to screw you over, someone's going to stab you in the back, someone's going to shaft you. It's politics. So that's the way I get through it. And the way really, like, whenever I bring someone in, if we're training someone or just giving them the basic rundown of politics, when someone says to me, hey, I'd like to be an MP one day, where do I get started? Or, I want to get more involved in the National Party, what can I do? And I always tell them, I said, number one, politics is not about morality. Church is about morality. Politics is not about morality. I said, politics is about how we can achieve results down here on earth with this different mix of views and perspectives. And so I said, if you're going to come in here thinking in terms of right and wrong, from your point of view, I said, you're going to be very disappointed. I said, secondly, if you hear people, I just want to come here and make a difference. If you think you're going to come into politics and make a difference straight away, then you're going to be disappointed as well. And I said, you got to remember, you got to think about it like politics is the Super Bowl. We have the red side and the blue side. And those people put on their color and they cheer for their team and they got the everything and they support their team because they're in red. And we support this team because they're in blue and we hate that team because they're red. You know what I mean? Even though probably if we went after the game and met at a bar, we'd agree on a lot of stuff if we took off the colors. I said, so your job is to do as you're told. So if you're part of the team, any team, but let's just keep the Super Bowl analogy. When you're on the team, you do as the coach tells you to. You don't decide, oh yeah, I'm going to play my own game. It doesn't work that way. You're out. You know what I mean? So you do as the coach tells you to until you build up to a certain leadership position where you're calling the shots. And that's where I think a lot of Pacific people get disheartened, because they come in and they think, things, number one, they think, like I said, things should be the way that they believe it should be. Number two, they get disheartened when it's not that way. And then number three, they get sort of disheartened when they aren't able to make the contribution that they think they should be making straight away. So it took me at least 4 or 5 years in the National Party before we actually started seeing some very big sort of results in terms of what we were wanting to do and things like that. And, for my own personal make a difference point of view. So that's what I'd say, is that's the basics that you have to keep in mind when going to politics. Even if you're going to go in Labour or Greens or anyone else, you'd still have to, they're not one of the things that frustrates me the most with Pacific people when they come in is that they think that they're like, we have this like savior complex or even entitlement where they think, oh, because I'm brown, you should listen to me, and I'm like, well, no. And you hear this a lot, and especially when brown people go into a white space and they're like, oh, now all of a sudden they're the expert on all things brown and white people should listen to them. And you hear this a lot, the media, you got a lot of reverse racism happening, where they try and downplay white culture, European culture, or colonizers or settlers or whatever rubbish. The fact is, in politics, it's the same for everyone. You shut up, you sit there until the coach calls you, you get on the field, you run the play, and you earn your way up until such a point. Now, there are other considerations, like, obviously for Labour, they've got a higher Pacific voting base. So, yeah, being brown will probably get you into a safer seat. But same thing, like there are some people that have been in the Labour Party for ages and, they probably wanted to be an MP long ago, but it's a very slow conveyor belt to move people into certain positions. And on our side, it's the same thing. You got to prove yourself. You got to start from the bottom, and you got to do your time until you get up there. So, yeah, that's a long answer to a very short question.
No, it's good. Because I was thinking when you first started talking, like, I sort of use politics as a wayfinder. When you said about how Pacific people wanna live in the Western world, live here. Like we've got our own ways of doing stuff, right? And then we live in the Western world. How do we move forward in this world? That's unfamiliar, in terms of values, especially against the Palangis and all that. It's interesting you said like you use politics as like a wayfinder, like knowing how the system works, and then you can use it, like knowing,
and but not just for politics, for everything. Like right now we have the government slashing a whole lot of stuff, and one of them is the Pasifika Māori, it's like entrance program or something for Otago. I didn't look at it in depth, but I've always been not across the board against it, but I've always been against the idea that we're not good enough to make a normal quota. You know what I mean? So how come Palangis, Inkias, Chinese have to reach this mark to get in, and yet Pacific people have to only reach this mark? Do you know what I mean? Like, I've always been against that fundamental mentality, because now it's become very pervasive everywhere. White people, this is your benchmark. Pacific people, this is you. Pacific and Māori,
I mean, they give us our own awards.
We've got our own awards. We've got our own prize givings now. We've got our, everything. And for me, I don't use the word segregation lightly and stuff. But what do you call it when you've been huddled into your own corner. And we do this to ourselves now. Before we used to say, oh, it's white man's constructs, it's the system, it's colonization, it's whatever. But now we do it to ourselves. We are calling for our own spaces, safe spaces, Pacific spaces. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. As long as it's not to the detriment of remembering that we are Samoans. I don't think there's even 800,000 of us in the whole world, of 8 million. 8 billion, I mean. Do you know what I mean? So you can't tell me, oh yeah, when someone comes out, they're only gonna, So what are they gonna do? They're gonna go from their safe space in high school to their safe space in uni to what? Pacific only workplace to where? Do you know what I mean? Our economic pool is so tiny. There's no way that we're going to be able to sustain any long-term generations for that. So for me, that's something that I always that I think about a lot. So in terms of Wayfinder, what you're talking about, I've always told people there are a lot of because people always talk about multicultural, multi-ethnic, and stuff, and they're like, oh, we're such a multicultural country, and I'm like, okay, or they point to someone, oh, it's great to be bicultural. And I said, that person's not bicultural. I said, they're bilingual. And they go, what do you mean? I said, bicultural is not the same as bilingual. Bilingual means you can speak one language and you speak another one. You speak two languages. Or even three. Multicultural, multilingual, you can speak many languages. I said, but bicultural means you are just as fluent in one culture as the other one. If I look at a lot of people, because I grew up in South Auckland, if I look at a lot of people in South Auckland, they are not bicultural. They might be bilingual. They speak English pretty good. They speak Samoan or they speak Tongan or something else really good. But if you put them in a white setting, they crumble. They go back to the back of the corner, or they only congregate with brown people. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, we're proud to. We get our own jokes and stuff like that. But I have friends. You ask them to if we're having a big circle thing, mostly white people, you ask them to give a speech or to articulate an opinion or something. And it's, I'm sure, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because they're not fluent in that culture. So they're not actually bicultural. So this is where, if you look at our achievement statistics, across the board, where's the only place that we are really fluent in another culture is sports. You know what I mean? We are fluent in sports. We are very, very good at that culture. And that culture doesn't need English that much, and now you see a lot more Pacific people doing really well in, obviously we're good in music, but you look, like the opera scene. So you have those guys that are very, very good at that. But when you mention something like, I don't know, in just normal networking settings or a whole lot of, but we've seen this all the time. Like I'm not trying to stereotype. I'm just saying, by and large, we don't have that same ease and fluency that we do when we're amongst our own brown people. Is it natural to like to be around brown people? Yeah. But is it detrimental, I believe, to only be around, to only be able to be around brown people? Yeah, it is, because there's not that many of us in the whole world, If we want our people to really, really succeed, we need to build their fluency in both places. So then we have the opposite. So you hear this, about, whitewashed Pacific, plastic Pacific people, and they talk, you hear people say this all the time, where they are fluent in the white culture, but put them in a brown setting and they feel, very uneasy and uncomfortable. So in my opinion and in my experience, there aren't many people that are fluent in both. Yeah. And this is not just, I know how to act or I can pull it off. It's language, it's protocols and customs. It's that, like I said, it's that fluency that comes with it. So me, myself, I'm bicultural. So I can absolutely thrive in Samoan settings. I do still actually speak Samoan most of the time at home. And we just had a funeral last week, and just speaking Samoan, knowing what to do, all of that stuff, knowing the formal language, the chief stuff, all of that things, and then get back into like literally the next day, get back into national party politics, and know how to approach things on that side. So for me, that's something I think we have to come to terms with as a people, is that are we setting up our kids for failure? And is it possible to be both? Absolutely it is. I was born in New Zealand. Both my parents were born in New Zealand, so I'm third generation Samoan. And I've still managed to keep the culture and the language and stuff like that. And I think you just have to be really intentional about how you do it. So some people, they're really good. Like I have friends that are amazing at Samoan culture, really, really good. And they were born here. And their English is fine. But if you put them in another setting, I said they would, they struggle a lot. Unless it's to be the comedian. Then, okay, it's the comedian. Or to be the entertainer, singer. So it's, we fall into different roles. And hey, it's fine. But I'm just saying that for the long-term sort of thing that we're talking about, the wayfinder sort of thing, it'll be good for us to address that we should build fluency in this culture that we're in, because the world is only going to get smaller. So we got to be able to. I don't like the word navigate because people use it all the time, but
yes, they do use it all the time.
Yeah, but we will. We're going to have to be able to navigate that. Once the what do you call it, exoticness of being brown washes off, and we're seeing that already in Auckland. Nobody cares if you're brown anymore. They're just like, okay, And once we become a small majority in this country, in brown spaces, all of that stuff is going to be normal. And then what? And then what? We're still going to have exactly the same, problems that we have, because it's, when people say, oh, systemic problems, they are systemic. They're systemic problems from the fact that we haven't addressed the fact that we no longer live in the islands. We no longer live in villages. We're in a system, and you hear this all the time, we're in a system that wasn't made for us. I'm like, okay, well then go back to the system that was made for you. The fact is you can't run away from it now. The whole world, even Samoa, runs on this system, whether you like it or not, this colonization that we live in. So, you can whine about it, or we can prepare ourselves and the future generations for it. And it's not hard, it just has to be intentional. And so yeah, there's another long answer to.
Nah, man, you're doing good, man. Because I was thinking when you were talking about the bicultural thing, you'd probably identify, I don't know, like an outcome of what all this diversity stuff is all about. I think, is it? Because I never know what the end game is with all this diversity stuff going on. Like, but is it to do that? Is it to get? Is that their way of trying to get bicultural in everybody in the minorities?
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense. New Zealand is a small place in the middle of nowhere that nobody cares about. Less than 5 million people. And you're going to tell me that Te Reo Māori is going to make a huge difference so we're going to educate everybody. So, I'm just using this as an example because I hear a lot of people say this. Everybody, Te Reo Māori should be mandated compulsory in all schools, right? Let's say that we did that. Then what? Is there a big enough economy in this world to fund all of these generations of kids coming through with Te Reo Māori? No. Why do you think a lot of people in Samoa, a lot of parents, push their kids to really study in English? And some people are like, oh, it's bad, we're losing the culture, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's a false dichotomy. People are thinking, either Samoan culture or either English. What I'm trying to say is, why would we come into an English-speaking country English-speaking country, and then try and turn it into Samoa? Why did you come here in the first place? You know what I mean? We can keep our like when I was younger, we were not allowed to speak English in the house. And my grandparents used to say, see where that fence is? That's where New Zealand stops. We're a Samoan family. This is a Samoan household. We only speak Samoan here. You know what I mean? And we used to go to Samoan church, and we went to Sunday school, and we went to Samoan preschool, and we did all these family stuff together. And I would say that we have all these things that we're able to keep our culture alive, which is beautiful. But if we only focus on this and we're not training them to do the next part, which is, yes, you're Samoan, be proud of your roots, be proud of where you came from, know your identity, know who you are, and know it well. That's the other thing that I'm not happy with about all these people that seem to push this agenda. I'm like, how about you go learn the language first? You go learn the culture first, and then come and try and push it onto everyone else. A lot of these people that push these Pacific spaces and Pacific scholarships and they cannot put a whole sentence of their language, whatever it is, together. You know what I mean? And they're the biggest ones. A lot of the fluent Samoan people that I know, they're not worried about Pacific spaces. They're worried about feeding their families. They're worried about feeding their families. They're worried about making sure that their kids are healthy. They're worried about buying a house, all of these things. They don't care about the Pacific space because the Pacific space is in their home. They don't need to find a Pacific space in university, or they have families. They have extended families. They've kept the culture. So for me, it's I'm not trying to say we've got to do one or the other. In case someone says
we can do both.
We should do both. And if we are to pick which one we should be putting more time into, it's investing so that people are able to face the world as it's going to be. Because the world's changing really fast, that they're able to go out there with the skills, with the fluency, with the training and everything to be able to, because it's not just, a university degree. I have no degree, by full disclosure. I have no undergrad degree. I'm completely uneducated. But if you put me in an interview against, a lot of my friends that have master's degree, I will wipe the floor with them. I will wipe in fact, I have not had or written a CV since 2014. And I've had many jobs since. I've never needed it because I know people. I know how to shake a hand. I know how to work in this world and how to make things happen. And so for me, coming back to the what you're saying, the end game, I think, is the end game for a lot of these people is that they are inadequate with their culture. And so they feel like they need a safe Pacific space. Because a lot of, like me, I'm Samoan through and through. If I see another Samoan, I will share my lunch with them. But we will make a table in the lunchroom a Pacific space. You don't need to designate a Pacific space. Wherever we are as Samoans, that's a Pacific space. That's a Samoan space now. We will speak our language. You can never stop us. We will sing our songs, all of that stuff. I don't need you or management or some advocate or some union to tell me that I need a specific Pacific space. And then they use it as an excuse to dumb things down as if I can't achieve, the same as anyone else. And that's the frustrating part. When I was growing up, you see, now you hear a lot of people, they say, our Pacific people, we need help. We can't achieve as we have a lot of factors standing in our way. You hear this all the time. Have a lot of things standing in our way to, which are barriers to our achievement, blah, blah, blah. When I was growing up, it was completely opposite. It was, you will succeed because you are Samoan. You are going to be top of class because you're Samoan. You will get a trophy at prize giving, like my family was, we were going to prize giving. And you better get a trophy. You better get lots of trophies. I want to see you walking across that stage because you're Samoan, because you're someone from this family, because you represent us. Everything. There was never any question of, I'm Samoan, therefore I'm disadvantaged in some way. There was never a conversation around that. I used to remember my grandparents used to say, I see Samoa. All people are great, but Samoa's the best. And that was the mentality that we grew up with. Now we're telling kids, you're brown, therefore you're disadvantaged. it's a self-perpetuating prophecy now. These kids coming in, they could be geniuses, but we don't know because we're already telling them that they're not as good as the white kids and so then to compensate for that, then we also tell them, it's their fault that we're not achieving. It's white people, colonization, or Asian people coming and taking our country, or Indian people that are they're crooks and they're exploiting our people. No, there's no reason why we can't be them. And in Samoa, actually, if you look at the people that control most of the industry, they're still they are Samoans.
Yeah.
They're Afakasi, but they're Samoans through and through. And so for me, that's the frustrating part is just that narrative is another word. Narrative has changed. That we're telling kids that they're not good enough before they've even taken their first steps into the world. How can you expect them to achieve, to succeed, if you're already saying, like I said before, this is the entry grade for white people, Chinese and Indians, any Asian, blah, 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 and this is Pacifica and Māori. What are you saying by doing that? Yes, there are going to be some people who need help. There are going to be some people that are, disadvantaged. Someone comes from a really bad home or something like that, blah, blah, blah. Give them a scholarship, absolutely. Lift them out of that. But don't blanket say, every Pacific person, this is your benchmark for you. Because there's another one whose parents have worked their asses off to get them to where they are, work 2 jobs, makes their lunch every morning, drops them off to school, picks them up on time, takes them to rugby training. There's a lot of our families like that out there. Even in South Auckland, I hate when people say, South Auckland families are like this. I said, no, not also. I know a lot of good, wholesome, healthy South Auckland families, But we are also doing a disservice to them because then, I've seen some of the kids of these families and they're like, this is how Pacific people should be. We've got to be a little bit gangster and we've got to revolt against the system and blah, blah, blah. A revolt, I feel, what are you going to get out of it? Revolt, go where? He's going to end up back where back in the same place. And then everyone always talks about, I've got to get out when we make the money, when we do this, blah, blah, blah. But then they were completely counterproductive to what they're trying to achieve. And that's why I think we have to be honest with ourselves about where we're heading. And like you said, that's the question. What's the end game to segregating ourselves off like this, or to even accepting, never mind if you don't accept that, we do it to ourselves. Why are we accepting just as a base position that we cannot achieve as highly as all these other people? I mean, when I was in high school, I crossed the stage heaps of times for everything. Chinese, for French, for music, obviously, and I think I even got some rugby stuff, but I'm very hesitant to put a blanket lower mark for Pacific and Māori than everyone else.
Mm. You're a member of the National Party. All these views you've just spoke about, like how much of it, from a National Party perspective, like their values, tie into all this?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. Self-determination, personal responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are all National Party values.
Yeah. And it's interesting, but because you are chairman of the Pacific Blue for National Party, like 10 years ago, if there was such a thing, it would be like, what the hell? What are these Pacific Islanders supporting?
Mate, not even 10 years ago. 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
7 years ago, I was running the Mangere campaign for Agnes Loheni, and like people used to have like physical like moments when they found out that I was a National Party supporter. You could see the disgust in their face.
Well, you're in the heart of Labour Fortress.
Yeah, but now, that's what I mean. But now, 7-8 years later, now people are just like, they've just gotten used to it. Whereas before, they were like, are you nuts? Are you normal? Are you mental? Is there something wrong with you? Like people used to actually say all kinds of stuff, and Fia Palangi and stuff like that. And I remember on Twitter back in, what year was it, like 2017, 2018, I used to be called a Pacific Uncle Tom. And, and you hear it all the time now, which is the same thing, why is it some brown people's opinions are valid and not other brown people, whereas white people can have all the opinions. They can be from crazy liberal to crazy conservative, Bible thumping crazy, and everything in between. And yet for us, no, we got to stay in our own little corner. This is what brown people think. That's it. You're not allowed outside of that fence. You know what I mean? Be good brown people. Stay in your place. Know your role. And we do this to ourselves now. I don't hear many white people tell us, it's not very Pacific of you. But I hear a lot of brown people say, this guy is, blah, blah, blah. All kinds of, stuff, calling me anti-Pacific, anti-whatever. But if I tell them, okay, let's debate and let's do it in Samoan then, well, no, they can't. Yeah, exactly. Because what? So all of a sudden you're more Pacific than me and you can't even string 3 sentences together. Give me a freaking break.
I was always in the belief that, with generations, like my parents, they came from Samoa here in the 60s, and then we were born, we're supposed to do better than our parents, and then my kids.
Absolutely.
My kids have to do better than me, that generation. So you get a bit of a generational wealth happening, start of the generational wealth thing. And if you look at the political spectrum, like left to right, like, when we start from scratch, we'll vote Labour because that's for the working person. Yeah. We'll generally go that way. And all islanders go that way in the first. But when the next generation comes up and you try to do better, next minute you start a business. Next minute you get past the working man type of thing. And next minute you're in the business side of things. And you're like, oh, maybe Nationals is one for me because they're for the economy and business and that. So I think I'm seeing that more now. That's the reason why there's more Pacific Islanders voting for National. No, it's getting in that. Well, is that right?
No, there is a little bit of that. The funny thing is that people we're still going by the 1990s, 2000 definitions of Labour and National. The real definition is National are for people who want to work. Full stop. If you want to do factory work, warehousing, any kind of work, if you want to make something for yourself, that's National. Labour are for people who don't want to work. It's the truth. Yeah? They're for everybody else except for the people who want to work. They're for the beneficiaries. They're for the gangs. They're for absolutely anybody else. If I come and I steal all this equipment, you cannot touch me. You cannot touch me. You can call the police and ring a pizza and the pizza will come first. You cannot touch me. And then you'll find it really hard to prosecute me. You'll find it hard for me to even get back your stuff if I've sold it. Very, very hard under Labour. You know what I mean? All of this stuff.
And all that time you'll be at home with a bracelet on your ankle. That's it.
And that's it. That's it. Well, was a 14 or 16-year-old raped a girl, a 13-year-old or something, a few years younger than him. Only got an ankle bracelet for 9 months. Do you know what I mean? So now it's people who want to work, who want to just get on with life and do something for themselves, make something of their life. Like you said, that's what we all came here for. Our parents, grandparents started from here. They wanted to give us something. And then, we're supposed to give something to the next generation. But you got to do that with your, with your own hands. You got to work. And then you got the other side who want to defend everybody else. Everybody else. Like, if you go on ram raid, and it's underage. If an underage person goes ram raids, they will obviously be taken to the station, write their name down, but nothing can happen to them. So National says, okay, let's put them into boot camp. Even, no, you can't put them into a boot camp. Well, then I said, when someone said that to me, you guys want to put them into boot camp? I said, which one do you want? Boot camp or prison? I said, because, you're just going to let them keep going around. And it's funny now they're talking about smoking. Smoking's bad. What about the new generation? Blah, blah, blah. All of this. And I said, how come those lives matter more than a kid who does something stupid like this, gets in a car chase and smashes into a tree? I said, we should be trying to limit the amount of kids that are committing these crimes.
was the smoking? I heard on the radio that they backtrack on the smoking thing. What was it? What was it?
Because there was a law that came in that said after a certain year, you will not be able to, if you were born after a certain year, you will not be able to buy cigarettes ever in your life in New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
And then they're like, yeah, so it's great, anti-smoking, blah, blah, blah. All these people, they like to cry about stuff, If we're going to say, we have to ban smoking because it kills people, then why have we not banned fizzy drinks? Why have we not banned takeaways? Because we know for a fact too much of this is going to kill people too. It's just that smoking, there's really no benefit apart from, but to us there's no benefit because we don't smoke. But
if we do ban smoking, wouldn't there be like another thing gangs can use for black market?
Of course, but that's the thing. But then if you hear them say, we got to legalize marijuana, they say, we got to legalize marijuana because it'll take it out of the black market. Yeah, and
trying to pick and choose.
No, but me being conservative as well. They said, we got to decriminalize abortion because so that there's and we can't you Christians and you conservatives, if you try and ban abortion, it'll only just go into black market. But for smoking, it's not the same. So some people, they don't talk very much sense. But the thing that I was trying to say is, for us, it's two big values in the National Party is personal responsibility, self-determination, and probably the third one that I would always say to people is rewards for achievement, rewards for hard work. If you work hard, you should get a reward for it. If I work really hard and I go to the gym every day, which I never do, but if I went to the gym every day and you don't, and I get a good body, everything, and you don't, why would you be crying that I look good and you don't? See what I mean? If I work hard in my business, because people don't realize, business people they're not 40 hours a week. To get it started, you're 80, 120 hours. If I work hard, build a business to a point where I can employ some people, I can take my foot off the gas, I can maybe go on a holiday, I've built it to a certain point after a few years. Why do I not deserve the fruits of this work? You know what I mean? If you have decided that you're just going to take it easy, and it's fine, up to you, But why would you be look bad that this person's got something that they worked for and you didn't, So those are the three big values that will define the difference between Labour and National. Labour thinks this thing around National says if you're on the job seekers, you should be seeking a job. Wow. Job seeker should be seeking a job. If you're on job seeker for a long time and you don't get a job, obviously your seeking's not going well. Do you know what I mean?
Or lack of.
Yeah. So the National says, look, you got to come in to do this many interviews. If we send you to a job, you got to take it. All of these things, because you're freaking job seeking. You're trying to find a job. Yeah. And then these people are like, and if you don't do these things that we require you to do, we're going to cut your benefit. Or I can't remember what they say now. There's a whole language which basically equates to we're going to cut your benefit. And people, and Labour, no, that's horrible, that's bad. Job seekers should be seeking a job. And the thing is that then they talk about, we got to increase. So then in the next breath, they say nobody can live off this benefit. It's not possible. It's not humane. You can't. You've got to pay more to these people. And I'm like, I got a better idea. How about give them a job, but they can get paid more. But no, we got to pay these people more. So yeah, it's completely different ideological frameworks. And that's what people are going by the old version, which is business owners and workers. But it's not the case anymore. Now it's, if you want to work, this is the party for you. So in the National Party, actually, especially in South Auckland, we tripled the membership Pacific membership down there. It was small, but now it's way bigger. And the people that have come in are not business owners. In fact, for us, it's actually hard to get business owners to come in and be active members of the National Party because they're too pala'ai. They don't want, because they're nice and comfortable and they don't want their other woke friends or their academic friends to think that they're like, hated. So they're always, those are what I call the secret agents, where they come in, they whisper to me, yeah, I voted for you, But the actual people who are coming into the National Party right now, Pacific people, are your low-paid workers or just, blue-collar workers, nurses, not nurses, factory workers. But, we do have one or two nurses, but factory workers, truck drivers, just cashier. I think one of them works at Pack and Save. Just normal people that have said, life sucks under these guys. So we better hope that these guys do something better. And then when they do come in and they talk to us and and they get to know what we're about, then they realize that, hey, these are my values. I came to this country because I want to make something better for myself. I don't want to be in this position for my whole life. I don't believe that I'm working my ass off and this person can just sit there. If most people are honest with themselves, they will say that these are the values that we grew up with. And I say this all the time to people. I say, look, for me as a Samoan, we never ever were taught, never taught to just sit around doing nothing. I had a friend who he was laid off, and I think he was sort of took it hard for about a month and a half, 2 months. And I remember he came over and he was really annoyed because and he goes, I go, what's happened? He goes, nah, man. He goes, everyone else in my family is treating me like I'm useless. And I go, what do you do? He said, I just sit at home. He goes, yeah, I wake up. I said, what time do you wake up? Oh, sometimes 11, sometimes 1. Okay. And I said, then what do you do? He goes, yeah, I see what's in the kitchen, play some PlayStation. It's after 2 months of not working. And he says, yeah, and now they're giving me shit because, they say I don't do anything, I don't contribute, blah, blah, blah. And I said to him, I go, but you don't. And he goes, but, I worked hard, I used to pay. And I said, yeah, well, I said, that was then. This is now.
This is now.
And he's like, oh, and I said, look, I said, maybe someone never explained it to you. I said, but in a Samoan household, if you aren't, maybe even sometimes if you are studying, but if you are the person staying at home, or whatever you want to call it, sabbatical, time out, have a break. I said, you are now the housewife. I said, so your job, wake up early, do the breakfast for the people that got to go, do the lunch for the kids that got to go, and then you clean up. Then you can maybe have a nap, or make yourself a lunch, whatever, have a nap. Then wake up before everyone comes back, make some food, make sure the house is vacuumed, all of that. That's your job. And he goes, what? I go, that's your job. You're now the housewife. I said, because if you're doing what you're doing right now, wake up at 1 p.m., play PlayStation, I said, then you are useless. You're not contributing to anything. I said, at least if you got no job, then your new job is to look after the house and make sure things are running smoothly. You're now the housewife. And I tell you, within 1 week, you got a new job.
Oh, yeah.
Once I explained to him that, what's expected, he's like, nah. Screw this, I gotta go back to work.
It sounds like sort of like an upward spiral when you start doing something, because he wasn't doing anything, right? PlayStation, lying down, watching movies, going to sleep. Once you start doing something, then it's like a trend kind of thing. Then, oh man, maybe I should go get a job, because I'm doing something.
No, but once you realize it's much harder to be a housewife than just go work and, you go work, you just, you do your thing and sit in traffic a little bit, but, and especially because, I remember, who was it? And they had the same thing happen to them. And she was like, she went back to a job because she said she got sick of having to ask for money to top up her phone or something like, because you're doing all this work, you're cooking people's food, you're vacuuming the house all the time, everything looks immaculate, but you still got to ask someone for money, Can I have some money to top up my phone? Can I have some money to, to do this or that? And so it's like, no, I want my own money. But yeah, I do believe it's an upward spiral. That's the thing is you gotta stay moving. You gotta do something, and you start in the home. And Jordan Peterson says this, first thing, make your bed. If you want to change the world, make your bed. This is the first step. and I think a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of times we're quick to blame something, someone. It's Donald Trump's fault. It's Jacinda's fault. It's Winston's fault. It's COVID's fault. It's my boss's fault. It's my wife's fault. It's my parents. But really, it's up to you. And if you have that mentality, it's and a lot more things will open up to you.
I always see it like a competitive mentality. It's you against the world sort of thing. That phrase, you against the world. You can turn that around to be what you want to, how you want to push forward in this world. Like for you, like I follow you on social media and stuff, and you've always been saying, you're a guy that doesn't make any excuse for anything. No. You got no excuses. And you try to preach down other people, and you have.
I got a lot of excuses. I mean, like, look, I'm fat. Okay, I'm fat because I don't go to the gym.
Yeah, but you do other stuff. There has to be a balance.
Yeah.
If there's no balance, then you.
Well, that's my excuse that I tell myself. I got no time for gym because I'm busy doing other stuff. But yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah,
but that's all right.
I get what you mean. Yeah,
that's all right. You're pushing forward. And that was just interesting to me. Like. When you're going back to how many Pacific people move over to national, when I first saw it was when John Key was there and shaking hands with Vainga Tukamana, rest in peace, and Sir Michael Jones, and for me that's like as soon as the no smacking law came out, I was like, hey, what the hell, man? When you Samoan, man, that is the that's the rule in the house if you do something wrong, man.
The anti-smacking law never made it to my house. That's all I want to say. We got the beat down.
But that's when the first. I remember Arthur and I back in the days. He was national.
Yeah, he was a national MP.
Yeah, national MP back in the days. I remember because he was a real estate agent. I'm not real estate. Travel. Yeah, the travel agency. Yeah.
The thing is that we have a lot of forerunners. But the thing is that, our job is to obviously set the platform for the next generation. So you had Arthur, you had Bisaka and Alfred. They came through. But the thing is that it's always harder when you got to do it by yourself because we're still we're community-minded people. So the good thing about where we are now as Pacific Blues and as a national party and Pacific people within the national party is that we're at this point now where it's okay to vote national. You have people that are, that are openly now saying at, I went to this function one time. Oh, actually, no, there's a better story. I went to driving range out near the airport and I was wearing my national party jacket. It was just me and my uncle and my other mate. And this guy out of nowhere, a younger guy, goes, "Hey man, you're the national guy." I'm like, "Yeah, it's on the jacket." And he's like, "I voted for you guys, man." He goes, "But you guys suck." He goes, and he said, "Is it going to be any better?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Guarantee you this time it's going to be better." And he goes, "Okay, I'm voting for you this time." He goes, "Good luck." And all his mates are standing around looking at him like, "What the hell? Is this guy all right, whereas before, even 5 years ago, there's no way. Even if you voted national, you keep it a secret.
Yeah.
So it's a good place to be now.
I feel like some people keep it a secret still.
Yeah, they do. A lot of people still do.
Yeah.
But it's not as big as it used to be. A lot of people that'll keep it a secret now are those academic types,
right?
Or the middle class sort of. Those a lot of the woke people too. I have people that are their friend circles are pretty woke, pretty out there.
Is it the fear of your buddies with someone, maybe acquaintance talking, Who'd you vote for? Blah, blah, blah. I vote for blah, blah, blah. And then
What?
not friends anymore.
I saw on Twitter, yeah.
That happens, eh?
I saw on Twitter this chick just went off on a rant. She goes, if you voted for National, Winston or Act, unfollow me right now, unfriend me. Because I can't be friends with that kind of, or something, with that kind of person. And I'm thinking, are you normal?
Yeah,
But that's the kind of divisive stuff that leads to bigger problems in the long term. If we're a country, and we have to embrace different points of view. We have to embrace. Actually, we have to embrace the diversity or the fact that people think differently to us, because if not, then we just end up pushing ourselves into our own corners and build these walls higher. And what comes from that is, because we're not experiencing each other at close distance, you start building up all kinds of rubbish. These people do this, they do that.
It's got nothing to do with...
It's not true. Some of it's not true. Some of it might be true, but some of it's not true. But you start building this animosity, So no matter what, even if we absolutely do not agree on anything, we have to be able to be civil. We have to be able to share spaces. You know what I mean? Share space. And we have to be able to at least be willing to dialogue. And at the end of it, it's not a matter of trying to convert each other. It's genuine discussion, genuine listening. And you might be like, okay, he's completely wrong on these things, but there was a little thing that I sort of agree with. And it's a good start. It's a good starting point for the next discussion. But yeah, it's when and people know this from relationships, right? When you stop talking, when you cut that communication, that's when you start making up your own stories in your head, and most of the time they're not true. And even if they are true, they're most of the time a bit over-exaggerated. So,
because at the end of the day, I think we're one country. We're supposed to, we all got the same goals, everyone. And the only difference is how we're going to get there. And we have poor people, we have middle class, we have rich, and in between, other different classes in between as well. What's the best way forward of that kind of spectrum, right? Because it's hard. It's hard to do. That's why you need the left and the right. But sometimes I think when we were talking before about how people react to parties or to to political parties and stuff, how they react personally. That just takes the whole thing away. It's not the point of what we're trying to do here. We're supposed to be working together, right? And trying to find a way to work together. When I think about, the one party I felt that's changed over the years is the Green Party, because man, when I see them in the elections, the debates and that, man, to me they look angry.
They're nuts.
They're angry. I mean, I was like, hey.
A lot of Pacific people go to Greens too.
Yeah.
But
is that because islands are shrinking or going down in the water?
Oh, no, but Greens do better. Greens do victimhood way better than Labour does. So Māori and Green Party, they really capitalise on victimhood. It's the colonisers' fault. It's capitalism's fault. It's the what do you call it? It's the corporations. It's the whatever. And so they can do that much better. Labour have a harder time doing that because they're a bigger party and they got to, have all these people in there. So if you're someone who's looking for someone to blame without really expecting any results, then you go Green. Because Labour, they're in government, they were the government. So they have to provide results, and it's very disappointing. Whereas Greens, they can scream and say whatever they want. Nobody, they're never going to be the government. They're just on the sides. They're like, it's funny, Chloe Swarbrick today said it's, the ramblings, what she said, the ramblings of this new government sound like the awkward uncle at a family lunch. And I said, if that's that, then the Greens are rambling from the sort of angry, petulant teenager. That's as a teenager, you're still trying to discover yourself. So you think, my parents are bad. They don't understand anything, and my teacher doesn't know anything. And the whole world doesn't understand you, and and everyone's wrong. And that's sort of how I think the Greens are. It's like that petulant teenager that hasn't taken the time to grow the hell up. Because if you ask them how you're going to pay for anything, or how you're going to do that, if you future pace any of their policies, it's just not going to work. Which is, like you said, it's crazy because Greens, I used to think Greens, are supposed to be about the environment. I'm okay with the environment. Like I really get angry at people who throw their trash anywhere. I see people just, they go McDonald's, wind down the window and just throw it outside. Like for me, I can't do that. I throw like apple core outside. That's fine. So yeah, I'm big on that kind of stuff. I think we should be doing recycling, all of that stuff. But and obviously try and keep the water clean or beaches clean, all this stuff. But the whole idea that we that the Greens are anything for the environment, like climate change, climate change is a completely different issue to me because I sometimes feel like their efforts are misdirected. So if the ocean levels are rising and our islands are shrinking, and it's an emergency like you say it is, why are you yelling at less than 5 million people over here instead of getting on a plane and going and sticking it to the Chinese government that are big polluters, sticking it to the Indians that are huge polluters, or Indonesia, or you know what I mean? If it's such an emergency, go park outside the UN. You know what I mean? What's New Zealand going to do? If we cut all of our emissions, kill all of our cows, it's not going to make 0.01% of a difference to the overall emissions of the whole world. Do you know what I mean? They're still going to, if their science is correct, still going to rise. But then again, we're not sure if it's correct because, according to them, the world was supposed to end in the 2000s. Al Gore was like, the whole world is going to be, on fire in 2010 or something like that. This was in the early 2000s, and now we're like 2023. And
hasn't happened.
Well, it might be happening, I don't know. But if it's so urgent, like you say, what is screaming at New Zealand is going to do about it? If we wiped off the whole population of New Zealand and its cows and its sheep and everything, would not make a single difference.
But it's even worse than that because now it's a moneymaker now. You get all these, like in the building industry, you got certified buildings now, like green star building. Like you need to, if you're a developer and you want your building to be green star rated, recognized around the world, in New Zealand, you got to pay like X amount of dollars to get that certificate.
Yeah, like when I fly on Qantas, and would you like to offset your emissions for this much? I'm like, what's that going to do? The plane's still going. So I don't. Yeah. But, let's see.
But it's the virtuosity over there. Like, you're doing it to show people. Yeah, like I care about the environment.
You're doing it to jerk yourself off. Let's be honest. You're doing it to jerk yourself off. Not going to make a single. That's my point I'm trying to say. It's not going to make a single ounce of difference. And then like, but we're leading by example. To whom? Leading by example to whom? Let's starve our country to prove a point. Let's kill our cows so that they don't fart to prove a point. Let's cripple our industries to prove a point. To what? You know what I mean? All of these policies of the last 6 years, and especially the last 3 years, have proven detrimental. And you can't tell me it's COVID. We were broke before COVID. The amount of people that I see online, they keep saying the economy's bad, but don't they realize we had COVID? I said, no, they spent the money between 2017 to 2020 before COVID. We were broke before COVID, that they had to go and borrow a whole lot of stuff, and then they went and just gave it out like lolly scramble. So the policies that were in place have led us to where we are now. And now you got these guys talking about we're going to re-explore or reopen oil drilling or mining or whatever it is, And you got these people, oh, no, that's horrible, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but do they realize that we're importing Indonesian coal right now to keep everything going? I don't know, like, what quality of coal is, but I would like to think New Zealand coal is better than Indonesian coal. But even if it's not, coal is coal. And we're importing it and paying much more for coal to come in than we could have just dug it ourselves. Why? Because we want to say, oh, we're not mining it. It's all rubbish. All rubbish. The whole
Is
lot
it
of
that fracking? Was that the thing? They tried to do it before, and
fracking.
then they got stopped somehow.
We are pro fracking.
We're pro fracking. No?
There's Donald Trump and the whole fracking thing.
But you know how, like, every time there's change government in this country, there's a lot of backtracking, a lot of work to be done, changing things around again or stuff like that. Like, that's what we're seeing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you said before, this new government will really help Pacific Islanders. How are they gonna? What are some of the main things?
Well, the whole thing was back on track, right? And then I said this on TV too. And they said, what's his name? Richard said, what about the people that have never been on track? I said, yeah, well, right now we're getting more people falling off track. I said, so let's make sure that less people are falling off track so that we can finally then address the people that have never been on track. There are some people that have been in absolute poverty for a long time. Lots of issues. Abuse, sexual abuse, substance abuse, all kinds of things. But there are some who are just struggling. They're just struggling. And if the government would stop putting more shit on top of them, they might actually be able to get their head above water to breathe. Petrol, for example. I was in Queensland 3 weeks ago. 91, 91 was like $1.80. 91 here is $2.90 or $3 depending wherever. $2.90. Cheap $2.80. Okay, if you want to go cheap. Our currency in Australia is almost the same. There is no reason why our petrol should be a whole dollar more, especially since we make a hell of a lot less than Australia. Do you know what I mean? And it's because, the fuel tax. The fuel tax gets added on, and then because the government's added on, then the companies, they get to take a little bit more because they're like, yeah, we'll blame it on the government. You know what I mean? And it's all just jumping on top of each other. And you could call it a global situation, whatever. Okay, America's gas has gone up, Europe's gas has gone up. That's all fine. But I'm saying us and Australia, there should not be that big difference. So that's one thing. Because the cost of gas goes up. Just for your average family, most people do not live near where they work. Where they can just walk. Or take a bike. We saw a lot of Pacific people taking bikes, hey? Who knows? Maybe that's why they built all those bike lanes out south. But, right now that's not the reality. So we need cars, and especially if it's nice to say, have bikes if you've got like yourself and one child. But, you've got families that have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kids. Yeah, we're gonna stack all on one bike. So most people don't live near where they work. So they need a car to get to work. They need gas to work the car. Well, they need gas in the car to get to work. And most of the time, one works here, one works there. Our traffic and everything is so shit that they need to go in 2 separate cars. If one person drops off that person, they're going to be late to work. If this person drops off, so they need 2 cars. And need the gas, all these things. And then we need lunch. We need to eat. We go to the grocery store. Problem is, for the groceries to get to the countdown, they come in a truck. And the truck uses gas. So then their price goes up. They add it to the groceries. All of these things. So if the government would just stop stop making life harder and these things, and just start lowering things, a little bit here, a little bit there, will it make a big difference to Pacific people? Yeah, it'll make a big difference to everyone. Like I always say to people, they're like, but your government's not going to do anything for Pacific people. I said, if gas comes down, is that not good for Pacific people? I said, if the cost of groceries comes down, is that not good for Pacific people? I said, if we actually get health care and you go to a freaking emergency and you're not waiting there for 4 hours, 6 hours in the, Not in the emergency room. You're waiting in the freaking hallway for 6 hours just before someone can see you. It's not better, If we can move the 4-hour wait to, 1 hour or something like that, something more reasonable, is that not good for Pacific people? You know what I mean? So, and this is what I talk about entitlement. What about Pacific? What about you? You know what I mean? Are you that sad that you need the government to come and breastfeed you? Are we really that desperate as a people now? Have we been so emasculated as a culture that we need to beg the government to come save us? I don't believe so. We have the leadership. Well, we don't have the leadership, it's a problem. We have the cultural knowledge, the cultural competency and currency and the community and the richness of family to actually run this country. We could be the top of this country, but we don't have the leadership and we don't have the people that are willing to take a stand and to say, you know what, this is what needs to be done. This is how we're going to do it. Instead of, what's the government going to do for us? How much are they going to give us? Because they gave you millions of dollars already, where did that go? Do you know what I mean? If I pour millions of dollars down the toilet, is it going to make anything better? No. No matter how many millions I pour down the toilet, it's still going down the toilet. Do you know what I mean? And there is some stuff that we're doing right now, which is the equivalent of that. And we have to look at ourselves. That's what I mean. We have to look at ourselves. What are some things that are not working? And we've been in this country long enough now to know. There's some stuff that we were doing in the 1990s that we tried in the 2000s, now it's 2010, now it's 2020. And I'll FIR and it still doesn't work. How about we leave it? How about we try something new? How about we do something new? And that's the whole philosophy around it. So, short answer is the government's not going to do shit for you. You got to do it for yourself. The government is going to do its best to get the hell out of the way so that it's not piling on top of the stress and the struggle that you already have. That's what we're here to do. Self-determination, personal responsibility, and rewards for achievement. If we want to make this country that if you want to go out and get there, you want to go out there and get it, you can take whatever you want, make as much as you like, do whatever you want for your family, and the government will not get in the way of that. And there'll be some tax reliefs because we want to reward people that are working, and there'll be some whole lot of other stuff. But the ultimate answer is the government's not going to do shit for you. It's not going to save you. The only person that can save you is Jesus Christ himself, and he hasn't come back yet. So until then, we've got to do it ourselves. Obviously with his grace, etc., getting into theology. But, do you know what I mean? The government's not going to, Luxon is not going to come and feed your family tomorrow. It's not going to happen. Jacinda wasn't even going to do that. In fact, no one's going to do that. You know what I mean? You got to get up and do it. So, obviously I'm not supposed to say this as a National Party person, as a New Zealand person. But, when people ask me, what's the best thing that I should do for my family? What's my suggestion? I say, pack up and move to Australia. That's what I say. I say, if you got no skills, no qualification, no real, and you're not a tradesman or anything, I said, you're working warehouse, pack up, move to Australia. In fact, pack up, move to Australia, move to Queensland. I said, you get paid double for doing exactly the same thing. Oh, no, I can't do that, my family. Well, then it's up to you. You know what I mean? But that's my first thing. Pack up, move to Australia. And they're like, but my children are already established, blah, blah, blah. They're doing it. I said, then you move. Leave your children here. Leave your children, your wife here.
Send the money back.
Send the money back. You can, if you guys there, works a little bit in warehousing, gets a forklift license, just goes a little bit up, you can afford to come here every fortnight. Every other weekend, you can come here. Fly back and send money back and do everything while living in Australia. So we good. The fact is, it's up to you. It's up to you to make what you want out of it. You got to do what you got to do.
Could New Zealand ever be like Australia in that way?
We need the population.
Need the population.
So Auckland would need to be 5 million people in Auckland to get to that level. Australia has the economic scale because it's got the volume of people to be able to produce what it has to produce. So we got heaps of land. Like, we're not going to run out of land. For me, I always say that ideally we should be aiming to be like Singapore. Auckland should be aiming to be like Singapore. You know what I mean? But see, and that's what I'm talking about, leadership. Singapore, if you look at its prime ministers, it had really, really strong leadership. It was just like, no shit given, nothing. No ifs, no buts. This is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to be done. This is that. If you don't like it, prison. Which is totalitarianism. But, you know.
But if you want to get things done.
But it's leadership, you know what I mean? Like it was very deliberate, and it did what had to be done. The problem that we have with Pacific people right now is nobody is willing to do what it takes to get our people to where they need to be. Because we feed into we're still living like we're on the islands, you know, which we're not. We're not on the islands.
So it's just a mentality thing then? Is New Zealand a place where you can start at the bottom and come
New
up?
Zealand is a creative place. So we are a really good incubator for creatives. Just look at Pacific dancing and Pacific culture. Our quality of all of that stuff is much, much better than anywhere else in the world, even Samoa sometimes. You know, if you look at our musicians, we actually do really, really well on the world stage for such a small country. Sports people, we're very, very creative. We have this genius about us because we're such a small place. We learn to make do. The problem is then, how do we take that creativity and that ingenuity and scale it, which is what we're not good at. So, but scaling is a leadership thing. And it's so we're really good as individuals. You'll see a lot of New Zealanders do well on the world stage. But as a whole people, it's a leadership thing. It comes back to leadership.
What are some examples of how you can turn creativity into something that's, that's monetized in a big way in the community, having a community-based thing?
Well, for example, okay, so I can only speak from my own personal example. So me and my brother, we sing Croatian. We go over there. We do well. You know, we have recording deal, all of that stuff. So that's a individual being able to monetize and make something of themselves. If you were to scale it, what would that look like? So one thing that we're working on is building a bridge or a foothold into Europe. So one thing we've discovered is that Europeans love culture. So we're looking at, probably in 2025, we're going to establish something called Samoan Fest. And it's where we're going to bring a whole lot of Samoan arts, crafts, fashion, music, dance, all of that stuff to showcase in Croatia. And then the idea for that is to then start getting people used to coming to Croatia to see a taste of Samoa. And then from that, we want to build something like, like in Hawaii, they have Pacific Village or Polynesian Village, yeah. Build something like that in Croatia. And people are like, okay, so you say, well, where's this heading to? The thing is that a lot of those people in Europe, in the summer, they come to places like Croatia, Greece, Italy, because that's, their countries are cold and they like to be in the sea. So if we built something like that in Croatia, all these people around Europe will come to Croatia to discover that exotic thing, to experience that. So it's good for Croatia, for starters. But it's good for us because now we have a portal where if we had something that was working 365 from that village, then we can take our, not just, our woodwork, our crafts, our fine mats, ulas, fashion, but then you start taking other stuff like whangu'u, I don't know, maybe, so what's that? What's whangu'u? Oil and taro and who knows, But now we have a new market where we can, and because all of Europe comes there, so they'll start branching out into other places. Right now, the big problem that we have from my point of view, is that Samoa's closest real partners is New Zealand and Australia. But that's oversaturated with Pacific, with Samoans and stuff, and we can get all of that stuff already. And so a lot of the time it's just us trading amongst ourselves. So it's just this small money just circulating here in this small community. So we have to try and find other communities that are going to want to buy our stuff. Not just Samoans selling to Samoans or Pacific selling to Pacific. We've got to find other people that see a value in what it is that we have to offer. So one of the examples is Fiji water. You know what I mean? The amount of people in America and Europe that know Fiji water.
You see it in the movies now.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's a good example of a small scale thing. But that's what we've got to start doing, is start going out to the world. We can't just, expect to, na kua risi whaavale, lisi mai aru kupe ale, kasira e ku kamini mino aku i. So, it's the same dollar that's just circulating around here. We need to bring in new money to come here. And then from that, to build it out. So that's something we're working on. But that's what I mean. So that's something that would take leadership and scale and a lot of discussion. But there's a whole lot of potential for all kinds of things to happen.
I would have thought our biggest commodity is our food, especially in New Zealand. Like,
nobody else eats that stuff.
But we can try and make it eatable.
Yeah.
I always say the Indians have their butter chicken. The Asians have their Chinese takeaways. What can we offer?
Yeah,
the Māoris don't even have hangi.
Well, it's funny, poke.
Poke, yeah.
Now
Hawaii.
That's all over the place now in California and in Australia and everything. So it is starting to get out there. It's our problem is that if you ask the Samoan what Samoan food is, chop suey.
But if you have the whaiailingi, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Damn. That is my favorite, man.
Yeah, I love whaiailingi. This is what I mean. But it's a marketing thing, and it's trying to find a way to sell it to the world. It could happen. It could happen eventually. But yeah, at this stage, I don't see it.
I mean, we got what we got? We got palolo. Have you had that?
Yeah.
See, that's like the caviar of the.
Yeah, that's, I mean, we have to. It's a marketing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a marketing thing. But right now, if I look at it honestly, I said it's still a long way off. So yeah, we have to try and find ways. But yeah, I mean, so back to the leadership and mindset thing, right? So I never forget my friend Melvin Apulu. When I was talking to first or second time I was talking to him, I ever met him, and I was talking about poverty within Pacific, and he said, "No, we're not poor." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "We're not poor. We just have bad priorities sometimes." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "If there's a funeral," I said, "the family can come up with 50 grand in 1 week." He goes, "And yet, if we have a business idea," he goes, "you won't come up with 50 grand in 10 years." You know what I mean?
Nice.
And so these are other things that we've got to assess ourselves. Does it make sense for us to pour 50, 70, 100 grand into someone that's dead? It's the culture, blah, blah, blah. But I think the culture can do just as well on 20 grand or 10 grand. Maybe you should probably get life insurance. But you know what I mean? But does it make sense? Okay, yes, maybe not. But why are we not then able to do something, bigger? Like, for example, I have a dairy next to my grandma's house, and if they wanted to sell it, I'm sure they would sell it for something. But the business itself, okay, never mind the rental and everything else, but let's just say the business, the dairy itself, if it was selling for a certain amount, and if we were able to use the same mindset, we could own the dairies. We can absolutely pull money. We could probably pull money better than the Indians if we wanted to. Do you know what I mean? But right now we don't.
Even a house, deposit on the house,
Yeah, but house is different. House is not really like an asset like that unless you're renting it out. Whereas islanders, they're really attached to living in a house. I have right now, interest rates and everything are pretty crazy. But yeah, like a business, a business, and then everyone works in the business and build it up. That's our way where it would take leadership and a change of mentality to, and it's a lot of sucking it up. At funerals, we know how to do that. We give money because we're told to, even though we really don't. We give money because it's what we should do, and then we don't start any fights during the whole funeral period because that's what we're supposed to do. Because it's the right thing to do. And we could do the same for business. Give money because that's what the family's doing, and we suck it up. We just work hard for however long, until the dividends are all paid out. And
Well, that's a part of business when the Balangis would probably get jealous of us. Like we can pull all that together in one go.
Yeah, absolutely.
The capital in time. So, we've got the ability to do that.
We can. But
see,
do we?
Like, you just told me, right? And I'm just thinking about it now, like, yeah, true. And why am I saying yeah, true? Because it's not normal for us to do that.
No, it's not.
So I've got that normal mindset thing.
Yeah, but we could if we wanted to, and it's a whole lot of, I'm oversimplifying it. But the fact is, if we wanted to, we could. If we wanted to be the business leaders in this place, we could. And if you look at, not to throw anyone under the bus, but if you look at a lot of these Pacific business awards and stuff, they're all government funded, a lot of them. 40% of them are government funded. That's not a business. That means you've gone, that means just you're really good at writing some funding grants or something. A business means you provide something, a product or a service, and somebody out there sees value in your product or service that they exchange money for it. That's a business. Not, I have a mate in the government, or I really know how to write grant or funding applications really well, blah, blah, blah. I'm a business, you're not a business. And so, part of our problem actually is that we rely too much on the government.
Has there been any Pacific organizations that have started from government funding and just grown and transcended into making their own money and going their own way, not needing any funding anymore? Does that ever happen?
Probably. I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough.
Because that will be the outcome. The government will say, "Yep, we did the right thing."
There must be, surely. There must be. There must be, surely.
But then, like you said before, there's only so many of us,
Because if
unless we can service everybody in New Zealand.
Like for me, if my family were to get together, I would start a tow truck company.
Yeah.
And I would buy a big plot of land. I'll probably buy or lease a plot of land where you tow all the trucks to, charge people. What's the last thing I got charged? Like $380 to release my car.
Or the way Wayne Brown's going with no cars in the city these days,
You know what I mean? So, and you do something like that. That's something that probably could very easily do, set it all up, blah, blah, blah. And hopefully you make money from there. I don't know. You got to go out and get a whole lot of contracts or something. But that's something that I would do because there's an actual need for it. Whereas there are some of these businesses that start off on government stuff. They sort of fabricate a need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not as, or they say, or they over-exaggerate how much the demand is, but they're not held to account because they don't really have to prove. And then they tell their friend, come, I'll give you this much money, or we'll help you, or this. You know what I mean? But we don't know. Are they actually helping people, or are they not? For me, the obvious, what do you call it? The obvious thing or measure of whether it's successful or not is you just got to look around you. Are Pacific people better off now after decades of government handouts and all this stuff, and however many hundreds of millions that they pour into Pacific funding, are we better off as a people, by and large, now than we were before?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I don't think so.
I think so. Yeah. And anyone who says that we are, I will gladly challenge you to come and tell us why. But I don't think so. Anyone who's honest will say, we've got all this money. Because the thing is, if there's a hole in the bucket, no matter how much water you pour into it, it's going to come out, it's going to leak out. And we have a hole in our framework right now about how we exist and subsist in New Zealand. There's a big hole, big crack. Something needs to be addressed. We are not doing the New Zealand experience well. So the guys in Australia probably hopefully do it better, and they are. So a lot of Pacific people in Australia do much better, but that's because they don't get any. A lot of them aren't citizens here, so they don't get any.
They don't get any funding.
They don't get any funding. Yeah. They don't get any Centrelink or anything. So.
But the wages are higher, so they've got more.
No, but even if you look at a Pacific family, for example, in New Zealand, if you have 5 adults, 5 working age adults, in New Zealand, probably only one of them will be full-time. 2 max. 1 part-time, 1 studying, and 1 pretending to study. So about 2 max that are full-time working. So it's 2.5. And our wages are lower. In Australia, 5 working adults, they all got to work.
Yeah.
Everyone works. There's no one staying home. You know what I mean? The mindset is completely different in Australia. You're an adult, you're working age, go work. And it's partially because they get paid a whole lot more to do, I wouldn't say nothing, but they get paid a whole lot more. Yeah. So, it's more of an incentive to go work. But that's just because that's the mentality around it, And so now you look at Australians, man, some of them have massive houses and because it's just a different... Over here, they goes, well, let's say if they were doing really well, so it's 70, 30. So there's 100,000 New Zealand dollars in here. And these guys are, let's say 70, but it's probably not 70, it's probably like 90. So 90, there's $450,000 in here. Of course you can't expect the same results then.
What's the minimum wage in Australia? Is it much higher than us?
No clue. I don't believe it's higher than us.
All right. They just make more money then. I guess the trickle-down effect is more is bigger than over there.
But there's way more of them, It's a bigger economy, so they can pay more and all of that stuff. There's way more of them to be able to do that.
Are you the type of person that will one day get into politics? Put your hand up and run.
I ran for local board in 2021 in Malietoa-Brown. It was okay. I didn't win. Didn't even get close to winning. Labour wiped the floor.
As they do in that election.
Oh man, I could put up a donkey's ass up there and they would vote for it. It's true. In Malietoa-Brown, they're gonna take Labour and Red no matter what. But hey, it's still their choice. People can vote for whatever they want. But then you can't complain. You get what you vote for. So don't vote that way and then turn around and complain about your local board or your facilities or your roading or whatever. You voted for that. I'm sorry. I don't live there anymore, so I don't care. It's not that I care. I shouldn't say I don't care. It's not that I don't care. It's just I don't have to put up with an eyesore of how things just don't get done there anymore. Nah. To be honest, I have no interest. I like being able to say what I want to say, do what I want to do. And I'm really good at what I do now, which is supporting people in the background, moving people, bringing people together. So mine is much bigger picture sort of thing. But I absolutely encourage anyone who wants to get into it. And it's just, it's not really something that I see for myself.
So, the Pacific Blue, what do you call that entity? Is it similar to like Young Nets?
Yeah. So we're a special interest group.
Right.
So we are
And how many does National have? How many special interest groups do they have?
Pacific, Indian, Chinese, Filipino, Super Blues, Young Nats, Blue Greens, Women's Advisory.
A few of them.
Yeah. So we're the Pacific arm of the National Party. So our job is to, communicate and liaise and try and build specifically into Pacific circles and communities, and to recruit and train and hopefully find some really good Pacific leadership to come up and be a part of Parliament, and also to make sure that we have good policy, make sure that there's good policy coming in from a Pacific point of view. Because obviously, I said before, there's a overarching sort of national thing where hopefully things get better. But there are some issues which pertain specifically to Pacific that we should be advocating for. And so that's our job as well. And then there are other issues that don't pertain specifically to Pacific, but that we can put forward, that will be good for the whole country. So those are some of the stuff as well that we, and it's really interesting, from child support to gangs to when schools are allowed to open, to immigration, to amnesty for overstayers, to it's a whole lot of stuff, that come through our policy sessions and things. And so, so for us, that's our job, is to look after that space and to make sure that we're not only making sure that we're communicating the National Party into those communities, but even more importantly, communicating those communities and their lived experiences and their hopes and desires back to the National Party. Because it's not the National Party just for white people or just for business people or just for working people. It's a National Party for the whole of New Zealand. It's the government of New Zealand. And we, as Pacific, it's about how much of us? 420,000 of us. We're a significant part of what makes New Zealand New Zealand. So we should have our voice heard there.
Do you guys have a direct line to Luxon during the elections and that?
Yep. Yep.
You must have been pleased with what you've built in the Pacific Blue. How long have they been going for?
It's quite a while.
Oh, okay.
It was established by Pesaka and Alfred a while ago. Maybe, was it 2008 or 2012? One of those. Something like that. Maybe even 14. But it's about 10 years old now. But we've really only just got, more wider recognition in the last 3 years, especially because we had no Pacific MPs. So
right.
when that happened in 2020, then we were like, you know what? Just because there's no MPs doesn't mean that we can't make a difference. Doesn't mean we can't be out there and be active and be vocal and advocate for issues that we think are important. And so, we even now we have no Pacific MPs, but it's not a problem for us because we're, like I said, we have these. If not Luxon, we have a Pacific Island member on the board. My partner is the chair of Women's Advisory, which is a very, very strong group, and she's very active in that space, and it's a very hot topic right now. So we have Pacific people in many different roles, not just pigeonholed in Pacific Blues. They're deputy regional chairs and electorate chairs and all kinds of things in the actual normal National Party framework. So, but we're sort of like the stepping stone to, because we don't want people to just stay in Pacific Blues either. We want you to, go be MPs. You're not going to be an MP just for Pacific. You're going to be MP for New Zealand.
Yeah.
And we're not a national party just for New Zealand. We've got to be able to interact. You're not a national party just for Pacific. We're for all of New Zealand. So
I work in town, and I'm the only brown guy in my office. And I went out to coffee one time, and I was just telling the girls in my work, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna meet you on the podcast. I showed them the Pacific Blues, and they were all shocked.
Yeah,
they're going, "What? So Islanders winning for national?" Like, they were shocked, just as shocked as probably Islanders being shocked that
Yeah.
But they were like, "Wow, oh my gosh!" And they wanted to know, and they read, You know, I'll email it to you.
Yeah,
It was funny.
Yeah, it's a slow process. Slow process. We had a few of those moments this year
Yeah.
where I wasn't here, but apparently they went to a debate out west somewhere, and they all walked in. People got a shock because, number one, they didn't realize that there were this many Pacific people in National,
Yeah.
and number two, they didn't realize how Pacific we were. They thought that we were some kind of like plastic, you know.
Oh, okay.
And then you come in here, you know, we're speaking Tongan, we're speaking Samoan fluently, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's it really shocks people. Like when I go to things and if I go as Pacific Blues and I'm wearing a suit and everything, and then I hear some people speaking Samoan, and then I start speaking Samoan back, and they're like, "Man, I thought you were Indian," and I'm like, and then they say, "I didn't even realize that there were this many Samoans in the National Party." I'm like, "Yeah, there's a lot of us now."
It's good because what it does, it generates interest. When they're shocked at seeing you guys, they're like, oh, and then they'll probably maybe down the track they'll try to find out why are these islanders international when it's normal for us not to vote national.
Yeah, but that's our job. Our job is to present Pacific people with a choice, because if you have no choice, then you have no freedom. If all you got is one color, then they can do whatever they want to you, and they know that you're going to vote you're still going to vote for them. So for us, it's to really make the case, that we want Pacific people support, and that we have their best interests in mind, and that we're willing to do what it takes to help improve life for Pacific and for all of New Zealand.
Were you surprised out west how National was doing really good?
Nah, I was not, but that's because I know Westies are Southsiders can suck up a lot. We're very apathetic in that we're just like, red, blue, doesn't matter, whatever, life is shit. Whereas Westies, if you rock them the wrong way, they'll get angry. And I'd known from a lot of people that they just were not happy with Labour. They weren't happy with a whole lot of things.
Yeah. The mandates was a big one for a lot of people.
It's the mandates. It's a whole lot of. It's the mandates. It was the groceries. It was house. It's people that had bought houses and now the interest rates skyrocketed. They got their loan at 2% and now they're paying 8%. And stuff like that. It was petrol. It was the traffic. Like traffic is a big thing for Westies because you guys only have one motorway and no infrastructure to get around it. It's because me, I grew up at South, right? So we've always had two motorways to choose from. You either go here or you go there. Whereas you guys only have one, and that's it. And even if you choose somehow to hike it out to the other one, you still got to come to the tunnel to the same one motorway. So I wasn't surprised. I was surprised at how well we did in terms of. I knew West was going to turn for National. I didn't know it was going to turn that badly. Like for example, Mount Roskill, I actually knew Newland was going to win. Te Atatu being really close. Kelston doing much better than we thought it would. So those things surprised me. But the West going for National, I wasn't surprised at all because that's just in their nature.
I don't know if you think because it's probably not doesn't mean anything, but how do you think National would have done if they were in government during the COVID lockdown? Because I remember
for National to have.
I remember Croatia Collins, her one.
No, but for National to have to be in government, Winston would have had to go with us in 2017. Right. So Bill English would have had to be Prime Minister at that time. So people were like, what if Simon Bridges or Judith? I said, no, you're not understanding. COVID started, and there was still the first term of the Labour government. I said, so Bill English would have been the Prime Minister, which means we would have had a better economy, by and large, and we would have probably been something, if you look at Australia, we would have been more similar to Sydney than to Victoria. So New Zealand took like the Victoria, Western Australia approach, which is lockdown, stay locked, send out the police. Whereas Sydney was still, a lot of stuff was still open in the first sort of space. So I think we would have handled COVID like that. In the long term, people like 20,000 people didn't die or whatever. Look, their numbers were faulty all the way from the beginning. Their projections were whacked, all of these things. This many people are going to die, this many people, like everything, It can go through the air, blah, blah, blah. Oh, but a mask is going to save you. Masks work, masks don't work. Sanitize your hands. Oh, and this bullshit of, I'm going to be infected at 1 meter, but I'm not going to be infected at 4 meters. Give me a break. The fact is that it is what it is. But I think National would have done something similar to Sydney. And then now coming out of it, we would be in a much better position. So the actual COVID itself, everyone around the world pretty much did the same thing. But coming out of it, we probably wouldn't have borrowed nearly as much money. And we would have had more money in reserve, so we didn't have to borrow, and we wouldn't have locked down. The first one, probably everyone would have locked down, the first one, and probably would have been similar to a level 4 or a level 3, So there's no way that we would have just ignored it. I don't think we would have. But the next lockdown that happened for one case, and then the other lockdown, those would not have happened under National. And say what you like, that's what I believe National would have done. Completely different than what I would have done, but that's what National would have done.
What would you have done?
If it was me, and going by what they were saying in the beginning, is you quarantine the old people and the sick people. You don't lock down the healthy people. That does not make sense. Do you know what I mean?
What was the thing with the kids? They were immune.
Yeah,
kids were immune.
Well, they were in the beginning, and then they were in the beginning, and now they say, oh no, they're not. There's kids. The whole thing is. It was, your kids are immune until it came time to do vax. Then they're like, oh, now you got to vax your kids. But I thought they were immune. Oh, no, yeah, well, they still get, so it's all rubbish. The whole thing's rubbish. But that, for me, just from my comments, now looking back, in the time, I was one of the few people actually that were really, really hardcore against it. I made a lot of enemies. A lot of people unfollowed me and unfriended me during that time because I said, look, it's completely, the human rights that are being completely trampled on right now, freedom of movement, and then you had, the COVID legislation, which allowed for no warrant entries into houses.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When they passed, was it COVID-19 bill, emergency or something like that. So police can come into your house without a warrant if they suspect that you aren't following the COVID rules or protocols that the government set.
Oh, shit. I don't know that.
Yeah, so that's why I lost my shit, man.
Yeah.
And so for me, there are lots of different people. Me, I've always gone by the theology, philosophy. I've always been a believer that I would rather starve in the wild than be fed in a cage. And there are a lot of people that are different, and they're like, safety is more important than freedom. You hear that a lot. Just fucking New Zealanders are stupid. They're just stupid. But you can't hold it against them. It's a small country, 4.5 million people, and 2 million of them never even went anywhere outside of New Zealand, let alone, I think, probably 3 million have never been anywhere beyond Australia or the Pacific.
Well, that's one of my complaints about this country, like the feeling like it's a bit of a nanny state when it comes to like health and safety. Like, okay, I understand health and safety in the workplace, but not in social, the social parts of. If
you're stupid society. And you die.
I mean, what's the police force for?
If you're stupid and you die. And if you come into my house and you think you're gonna rob me with a knife and I end up killing you, you die. In Mangere we had a lot of There was a time when a lot of police chases and people, they die from crashing into trees and stuff because of it. And yeah, the whole outpour, no, stop chasing them, you're killing our young people. And I'm sitting there going, oh, are you all right? I said, why were they stealing the car for? And why were they getting chased by police? And why don't they just pull over like a normal person? Do you know what I mean? No one's forcing them with a gun to their head. You got to run from the cops, So it's that thinking, though, where people are not responsible for their own actions. It's someone else's fault. That's where the whole nanny state comes up. Because, now we've got to cushion everything because, we've got to keep you safe because you're too stupid to look after yourself.
Well, I don't agree that they pull laws when it affects like minority of people, and that we all suffer. I hate that.
It's normal. I'm just used to it now because I'm used to this country is just full of stupid people.
Because I've even heard people like tourists coming in, man, you guys got too many rules.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah, tell me about it,
Absolutely. In Croatia, we're above the National Theatre. If you go out into the balcony, the landing, the rail is like up to, I think my hip, maybe less, and you can sit on it. It's like, and then that's it. You fall over the edge, you're gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In New Zealand, there's no way that would be allowed.
No.
They would cordon that off. It's too dangerous. They'd build like another glass thing up here, and
that's right.
But does anyone fall off in Croatia? No. And they have events there all the time, and even the alcohol thing, in Croatia, in Europe, kids are drinking from 13, 14, and they learn how to drink at a young age, social, all of this stuff. And I never seen any fights. I don't see any fights. You got, when I was in Croatia, women walking around, they finished at a bar or something and they walk home at night, 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. in the morning. No one touches them, They're not worried about being raped or anything like that, Over here, I wouldn't even walk home at 2 a.m., in a lot of these places. Because you'll walk home and someone, just for no reason, they just come and beat you up for no reason. It's retarded people. So,
it's good to compare when you live in another country.
Yeah, but it's the mentality. It's the mentality where, it's just like so many rules that people feel that they don't have to take any personal responsibility themselves.
Well, with the rules here, like when the kids come into these rules, it's like normal, right? And then there's always back in the day we didn't, back in the day we had double happies and fireworks and skyrockets for fireworks,
Oh no, the dogs! My dogs are so terrified.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's a dog. It's a dog. People treat dogs like their children. Yeah, so
but it's,
even playgrounds back then used to be cool.
Yeah, it used to be dangerous. You fall off, break your leg.
And then I heard some things. There are some schools they're not allowed to climb trees. Same thing.
Yeah.
And they have to cut down the lower branches so no one can. Okay. It was back then. It was, man, straight out of church, climb the tree, go all the way up, fall down, cry, get told to shut up, and then jump in the car. That's it. Yeah. So
you had a big year this year. Like I saw, social media went to Croatia again. I see you having a party with some people there. That was pretty cool.
We have a party every night. I don't know which party you saw.
Yeah. I was like, it's really fun over there. Like, you were really into it.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's our job, but it's a lot of fun.
Well, when are you going back?
I won't be going back until May, so we're here for a while. So I've got some stuff I'm working on over here, but yeah, we'll probably go back May until September or end of August.
Are you still doing concerts there?
Yeah.
You're just going strictly on business and stuff?
No. We're performers. So all performers, even Adele, have to You only make money from performance, really. Everything else is extra, but you make most of your money from performance. So same with us, yeah.
Sweet, man.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, we were hoping to do a North America tour again, West Coast.
Oh, again? You done one before? You did one?
Yeah, like 2 or 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, but this one we want to do the West Coast fully. So like last time we'd go like LA and then fly over to Chicago, Cleveland, New York, somewhere, or LA, Arizona, somewhere. Whereas this one I just wanted to do San Pedro, LA, San Francisco, Sacramento, San Jose, and then probably maybe something in Oregon or skip that completely, Seattle and then Vancouver. So go all the way up the West Coast.
So strictly to the Croatian community?
Just Croatians.
Those places?
Yeah, just Croatians.
I remember when I was in high school, that was when the war was going on there. And we had a lot of influx of Croatians coming over.
Oh, yeah?
Immigrants coming over because of the war. And we had this one girl, she came to my high school from the war. But she was like over there, she was like a makeshift nurse. Like treating the wounded and that. She'd tell stories at school. It was like horrific, but
it was a crazy war. It's a crazy war. There's still a lot of... We won't understand because we've never lived through a war in our own backyard. And yeah, the last time... I don't even know the last time New Zealand was actually at war, where it hit New Zealand. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, that's one of those topics that you always got to be careful around, the war.
Oh, when you're over there?
Yeah.
Like talking about the history. You don't want to know about that? You like learning about the history?
Oh, we learned a lot about the history. Like I know, a lot about everything, actually, the last 150 years of that region. No, it's just you got to be careful because you never know when you're talking to someone what side they were on or how they feel about it, or
Considering the borders have changed plenty of times over the years, though.
Yeah, so
Like
it's
Yugoslavia and
yeah, and there's so some stuff like that too where people they identify as Croatian, but they're on the other side of the border.
right.
So they're on the Bosnian side of the border, and so you get people that are really pro Bosnia, and these guys are like, nah, we're Croatian, and and it's different when you have whole cities and areas like that. It'll be like if all the Samoans in Mangele just decided, no, Mangele is not part of Samoa. But for us it'll be completely wacko. But you got to remember, at one point in time there was Croatia. It's just the border's gone like this now. It used to be like that. So those historical things, and and they've had a long history of people coming, taking over them, take it back, taking over. So yeah, it's one of those touchy topics.
What's the best food over there?
Meat. Yeah, just eat meat.
Just the way they cook it here and stuff.
Yeah, it's probably normal, but it's because I eat it so much over there. It's all I can remember. It's just pork, lamb. There are nice stuff like there's nice pasta and some more Germanic kind of food, schnitzels and those kind of things. But for me, I just love the meat. Even though they got good seafood too.
Oh yeah. Because what's the nearest sea? The Mediterranean, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just right there.
The Adriatic, yeah.
Oh yeah. How long does it take to get there? Like how many flights do you have to take?
From here to Dubai is 16.
Oh yeah.
And then from Dubai to Zagreb is 6. So yeah, it's about 22 hours plus the 3 hours you got to wait in the airport. So the fastest you get there is in 25 hours. Fastest. Absolute fastest.
Sweet, Christian. Man, thanks for coming, eh? It's been
No worries.
It's been good to chat. Like, it's been good to get your view on what's going on right now in politics, because I try to keep up, but I'm just so busy sometimes I can't Yeah, every single story.
Yeah,
There
and
is, and
that's something that we're going to try and do more for Pacific Blues this year.
Yeah.
Coming up is to really articulate what's happening for people, because otherwise you just get everyone else's hot takes and certain people with their agendas. But yeah, so it's I think it's something we're going to focus on. But
so you're going to use the platform, the social media platform, to do that? So
we just have our
just have
Instagram and Facebook, and I don't know if we have a TikTok. I can't remember. I think we do. The hardest part is that it's like with everything, when it's totally voluntary, then you have to try and work around people and their schedules and the ups and downs of their lives. And like me, like I'm out of this country for at least half the year most of the time. So I don't know how I'm still chair of this thing, but
remotely.
Yeah, well, and last year I was doing, when I was in New York, I'd be on Zoom calls. When I was in LA and in Vienna and stuff, I was still be doing Zoom calls for Pacific Blues. This year, not so much. I was just like, yeah, I'm gone. You guys sort it out, because it's campaign. Campaign's pretty standard, but yeah, for us, it's really important that we make the most of this next 3 years while we're in government, and really be able to feed back the information to the party, to the government, to the Prime Minister, Cabinet, whoever, so that they know what's happening on the ground. Because sometimes bureaucrats, they're all good, people in the office, but they have a certain narrative to spin as well. Whereas us, we're all volunteers. None of us get paid for this shit. So,
all right.
So a lot of the time it comes more honestly.
And is there anything in the government right now that you guys are going to keep a close eye on, like in terms of how it affects Pacific Islanders?
So in terms of legislation that's already been tabled, is the one by the Green Party, by Keanu, which is the repeal of the Western Samoa Act.
What's that?
So you know how New Zealand used to be in charge of Samoa?
Yeah.
So when you go colonize another country, they become citizens.
They took it away, eh? Then they've come in the draft now.
Yeah, they took it away. Yeah, they took it away and gave us a quota.
So we're going to give it back? We're trying to give it back?
So we're trying to make it so that gets taken away, and then all the people that were born between 1914 and 1962 get automatic citizenship. Because that's their right. I'm sorry, you come and colonize my country, then we at least get the benefits of being a colony.
Does that apply to their kids?
So I think it shouldn't, but I think there should still be a pathway for their kids. It shouldn't be automatic, but there should still be some kind of consideration. Otherwise everyone in Samoa is going to be New Zealand citizens forever, and then that'll be not good for New Zealand or Samoa, because we'll have a whole influx of people that, obviously we already can't house enough people and stuff right now. But I think just from a justice point of view, it's something that should be done. It's a historical injustice, and it's funny because it got taken to the Privy Council, in the UK, and they said actually that that we should have been, citizens. So it's just to right that wrong, and then So I don't know if there'll be that many people that are. Well, actually, there'll still be a few.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's why I said that.
Born until 1962.
Yeah, that's why I said that if their kids going to apply, because there won't probably be a few, but not many.
Yeah, but that's all right. I think it's just do that. Born until 1962, they're automatic citizens, and then work it out from there. But yeah, I think it's something that should be done. So that's something that that we're watching very closely. The other one is immigration, especially around overstayers. So we have we wrote a policy around how to find a pathway to normalize overstayers, or to get them on the pathway to citizenship. And it's not just automatically you guys are citizens. it's very in detail, and it's quite a process. But at least it's better than jump on the plane, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah,
not deport straight away, just find an alternative.
So we wrote a policy to that, and it's with the party caucus right now. So hopefully, they might not take all of it, but hopefully they take some of it. So those are things we're watching, and obviously, things around the economy. I think everyone's watching right now because everyone needs a break. The struggle is real, so hopefully we can. Yeah, so those are the main things that we're watching, and then health and education are the other ones. Education system is very, very bad in this country. I don't know what kids are learning, but there's no way you can tell me that these kids are better prepared and learning more than what I was learning in primary school or high school. So, the whole idea of it's supposed to get better as the future comes, it's getting worse.
They're going to get rid of the desal system. They said they were going to get rid of.
I think it's already gotten rid of.
Or change.
Yeah, I think it's already gotten rid of, which is fine. The main thing though is because desal and stuff, that's mostly just around allocation of funding.
Yeah.
But allocation of funding, like we've been talking about tonight, the money doesn't matter if the leadership's bad and if the direction isn't wrong. So that's something that we're focusing on right now as National Party, and we campaigned on, is to get back to the basics. Yeah, there has to be 1 hour of maths, 1 hour of reading, and 1 hour of writing, I think, every day, or something like that. It's 1 hour of maths and 1 hour of something like that. Because right now, in primary school, kids might only just do 2 hours of maths a week. This is crazy.
2 hours a week.
That's crazy, Because, and then it goes back to what we're saying.
You're not going to hate maths just doing 2 hours a week.
We're preparing them for the future. So put up our kids against kids in Singapore, in, Mumbai, even in Europe, we're going to be dumb compared to them.
Or even Samoa. Have you noticed Samoan kids are really good at maths?
Yeah, but that's something that Samoa pushes really, really hard.
Yeah.
Is maths. And and against Samoa, do you know what I mean? So it's so education and health are other things that we're watching. Well, hopefully it works out. And if it doesn't, well, the country will have an opportunity to vote us out again in 2026. But I think we'll be fine. Everything looks like, from what I understand, the government and Parliament's going to be setting an urgency all the way up until Christmas. So it's good. That means that they've got stuff already ready to go, things that are ready to get passed, and that's good. That's really good for us because that means that they're getting to work straight away. Instead of let's wait till after Christmas and then come back end of February and then we'll do stuff. That's already three months wasted and then include the month that we've been waiting for the government to be established. It's a long time.
I think the cauliflower is muffled right now.
Yeah, that's stupid cauliflower.
What's your family doing for Christmas, man? Before we wrap up.
The what? Sorry.
What's your family up to for Christmas before we wrap up?
Oh, we're staying here.
Yeah.
Who can afford to go anywhere right now? No, we're staying here. Just church, just normal stuff. Hopefully the weather's good enough so we can, go to the beach. And then that's it. Pretty much after New Year's, back to work. I got these, I got things that I'm working on. So hopefully I'll be able to get them in and reel them in and get them closed before Christmas and just jump into them straight after. But for me, this seems like it's going to be a working summer. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then probably, if it all works out, then towards the end of the holidays, then might go to Australia or go somewhere else. But yeah, I'm not really a big travel around during Christmas time person because I want to go to church and I don't want to go to some worko church in a place I don't know because you never know what you're going to get sometimes when you show up to a church.
Christian, thank you for
thanks man,
thanks for the chat, man.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, man.